It's Friday, and here is Casey Pine to tell us all about her week. How you going, Casey?
I'm pretty good. Just been an exciting week.
What have you got for us today?
It was on April 11, it was Identity Management Day. So I am a Identity Management Day champion. So today I will be teaching you how to manage your identity online.
Fantastic. I love Identity Management Day because the number one thing with an investigation is the identity of the person being investigated. Is it the right person? Because if it's the wrong person and they go to jail for whatever you've investigated them for, they're up for a very big payout in about 20 years' time, and it's all your fault. So, yeah, Identity Management Day sounds like a great day, and you got a little certificate for it, did you, or what happened?
I got just like a kit and a little badge that I can put on my LinkedIn, I think. So, yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. And you're going to tell us all about desktop investigations as well, because we've had a question this week.
Yes, I sure am.
Okay, so the question basically was, I've got my certificate 3 and I want to do desktop investigations. I'm not really sure what they are, but what qualification do I need for that? Now, you don't need a qualification for that. Once you're licensed, that's it. You've got your license. There it is. Once you've got your New South Wales license, right, you can investigate. You don't need a separate desktop investigation qualification. So what's it all about, Casey? Can you give us a skinny on it?
Yeah, so it's basically just investigating online. So you would have learned a lot of basic stuff through your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services to get you started. And there is so much information out there to help you with this. I have a really fantastic resource. If anybody wants it, I can send it to you because it's quite a long URL. Just email me, casey@australiansecurityacademy.edu.au, and it gives you step by step about what this person did after they got licensed and what they looked at, what kind of mindset you need, what kind of analytical thinking you need. Also, if you're a student and you're not signed up to do Friday Investigations Uni with Mike, which I speak a lot about, desktop investigations there, open source intelligence investigations, analysis techniques. So that's another fantastic resource that as an Australian Security Academy student or alumni, you need to take advantage of this because this is where you get all of your extra stuff that the Academy provides. So, but yeah, just email me and I can send you a whole bunch of stuff. And I don't know a single investigation agency now that doesn't have dedicated desktop investigators. So
And basically, yeah, what it means is you're not going out to the workplace and interviewing 3 witnesses, doing a scene inspection and photographing it, and then driving over and talking to a claimant and their lawyer. You are doing the whole investigation as instructed on your home office computer. So you're trying to locate people that can't be found. They've got 3 witnesses from a car wash in Melbourne who were all Indian students back in 2015, and they need to be located because the person that was injured in that workplace on that day has put in a common law claim now for damages. They're never going to be better. So you've got to speak to those Indian students and get a statement off them. But before they do that, they've got to locate them. Now, if they were engineering students, they could be in South America, still contactable. They could be in Africa. They could be in Pakistan, China, anywhere. So that's what the desktop, they're saving a lot of time flying all around the world looking for people and knocking on doors where they don't live anymore. But here is a great example of a desktop investigation. It wasn't really ever intended to be, but the person gave up information on their Facebook page about themselves and basically destroyed their claim. Now, I'm not making fun of this. This girl will be living a nightmare, and I'm not comfortable with her potential future from the embarrassment she's suffered as a result of it, but this is what they do.
Making the news throughout the world is this young lady who's 21 years of age. She was injured in a motor vehicle accident where she was a passenger in the back seat, and she had at the time whiplash. She told the doctors that she couldn't participate in exercise anymore that she enjoyed, and she couldn't clean her house, all that sort of thing. And she received compensation for her injury in relation to the whiplash. Now, the people who were involved in the accident, the other vehicle, they noticed that she was on social media, and at one stage she was in a post climbing the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And in another one where she was in a hot air balloon, and there was another post where she was swimming with dolphins. This is all after her accident. Now, on the same day that she went to a medical appointment and told the doctor that she couldn't clean her house and she couldn't enjoy her exercise activities, she was tagged in a post with 4 other people wearing medals as a result of going on a 5K obstacle course. That's called an inflatable run. It's pretty dramatic. So that's what a 5K inflatable run looks like. That wasn't video of the subject and claimant in relation to that. She received from the court $42,600 bill in lawyers' fees, $10,000 fine for contempt of court, 16 weeks in prison, fully suspended. She was 21 years of age, not very sophisticated. I have serious concerns for her mental and physical health as a result of the publicity. There are photographs of her plastered all over the internet and all over the newspapers globally. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
It was a dumb mistake by a very young person. She put up all of that voluntarily on social media. So desktop investigators, they look at the social media, this person's injured, they can't go fishing anymore, they've lost all their enjoyment of life and they're in a wheelchair, and there they are standing on a bow of a rocking boat pulling in a marlin over 3 hours and posting it on social media. So desktop investigators get a range of investigations that are similar to that type of thing. So there are organisations that have investigators that go out and knock on doors and interview people, and they have, like Casey said, desktop investigators as well. Very well defined, Casey. Thank you very much. Just some of the news that's come out this week. Nick Brackenbury down in Queensland. This was great acknowledgement by Nick's workplace for loss adjusting. Over on LinkedIn this week, Charles Taylor Loss Adjusting in Australia acknowledged the great work of Nick Brackenbury for a claim that they had that was unusual and outside their usual panel remit. Really good work by loss adjuster Nick Brackenbury, acknowledged by his workplace Charles Taylor Loss Adjusting in Australia. They're a global loss adjusting firm, and Nick's work was acknowledged by them from their client director, Richard Lance. Well done, Nick. Great work. Good to see you kicking goals on LinkedIn. That's a great result. Well done, Nick. Really, really pleased to see that. You don't get a lot of recognition in loss adjusting. If you want recognition for what you do, don't go into loss adjusting. So Nick gets some balloons. Well done, Nick. That's a really great work, mate. Great to see that. Tragedy today in New South Wales in security risk management. A New South Wales ambulance officer was stabbed and killed when he went to the aid of a person there. A 21-year-old male is in police custody. That's enough balloons now, I think, for Nick. That was an awful thing that happened down in Sydney today. Now, this brings us back to what Casey mentioned, Investigations Uni. Last week and this week, we've been discussing risk management and how it affects the organisation, and the role of investigators in risk management and security risk assessors and security risk managers. Now, we've done some pretty big programs last week and this week, very comprehensive. If you're not taking part in Investigations Uni, you're an Australian Security Academy graduate, you can get CPD over there, and it really is quite an in-depth little support program that's totally free. So take advantage of it. Some of the things that have come up this week, we've had a guy named Egbert. He's gone and ripped off his workplace, which was a fashion house, and stole a lot of money off them, and they're arguing about how much his defence lawyers and that sort of thing. And his excuse when he admitted to the crime was he used it to support a gambling habit. Now, risk management in the workplace, if you've got someone there in a financial control role, bookkeeping role, that gambling habit is the big issue. So we had it again on the Gold Coast this week, where Benjamin James Kane was jailed for $57,000 fraud from Michael Hill Jewellers, which he got his girlfriend to participate in. Now, at the time, she wasn't in a good way. He was gaslighting her and getting her to do all these things she didn't want to do. And he made her steal by giving fake refunds to herself. And his excuse for it, gambling problem. All right. So it comes back to the risk management. Are you checking your staff in those roles, bookkeeping roles, financial control roles? You hear Casey say all the time, you got to have two-factor authentication. Oh, it drives you nuts. Casey's banging on about it, on and on and on. Why can't you have two-factor authentication for the bills the organisation is paying, and who to? It's not hard. Okay, one of them goes on holidays, you have a replacement one, as long as they're not boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife, that's important. One thing I missed last week in our coercive control highlights of what goes on in Queensland with private investigators using tracking devices, listening devices and remote cameras, resulting in coercive control and the upping of domestic violence. There was a lady in New South Wales. They thought it was a car accident she died in with her 3 children, but the police have now upgraded that to a domestic violence charge because her back door was kicked in and she was trying to escape from the violent situation. 15 minutes later, her and her 3 children were dead. There's very tragedy. There's coercive control. It's a narcissistic personality disorder. The person is displaying controlling behaviours, and it's ladies who are the victims of it in the majority of cases. It's not good. And the good thing, though, in Queensland, they're right onto it. So that's very important. Really pleased to see that. So before we go back to Casey, I just wanted to cover this. This is really important, investigators. So if you're a government investigator or a private investigator investigating fraud or misconduct in the workplace, you're going to get a lot of these. They're going to get more misconduct than you are fraud. So how do you tell the difference? So their definitions under the Commonwealth are fraud is dishonestly obtaining a benefit, causing a loss by deception or other means. Fraud does not have to be criminal in nature. So, you know, it's something that affects the workplace. Someone stealing something from the world, or manipulating bills, or giving themselves refunds to go and gamble it, or put it through the pokies. Misconduct is a completely different thing. Now, under the Privacy Act, the Commonwealth Privacy Act, the misconduct is defined includes fraud, negligence, default breach of trust, breach of duty, breach of discipline, or any other misconduct in the course of duty. Now, this is really important that you understand that, because when you do a code of conduct investigation, you're seeing if the person has breached some kind of policy, process, or procedure. And you need to make a finding at the end of it. Now, this came up with the students this week. How do I make findings? It's just so complicated. So all I've done is WorkSafe investigations and TAC investigations. I had never have to make a finding in my life. When you make a finding, you're looking at the behaviour of the person, what the witnesses said, what the CCTV says, what the email said, what the correspondence said, what's in the statements and the records of interview. but also part of your role is looking at what knowledge, skill, information, training, or attitude gap led to that behaviour. Was the person told at induction, you can't do that? And we've had an incredible example of this week in Australia, in state government, at Service New South Wales, with this. So what we've got, the young lady being arrested in the Bunnings car park. And I don't know if you might be better at body language than me. She's either as cool as a cucumber or she's just as dumb as you can get, because she's been arrested by the police. She's cooperating. She's not carrying on like an idiot. Her car's going to be left in that car park while she goes into custody and on remand. What's happened is she's accessed a database and told a bunch of kidnappers where their victim lives. So they've gone around there with a sledgehammer, entered his premises and kidnapped him, taken him away to a house in the suburbs, removed teeth and sent extortion threats to associates of his to give them money or drugs to the value of $5 million. Now, the New South Wales Police responded with stun grenades and complete combat assault police officers going in there to get him out alive. This is pretty serious stuff. Okay, so these wannabe crooks who have acted like big-time criminals and were not very good at it have used that young lady in Service New South Wales to access that database. Now, not only did she do it once, she did it 3 times, and she sent them copies of their driver's licenses. And so there were photographs of those sent to the people that were being extorted. It's incredible that she did this. Why did she do it? Did she do it as favoured of friends? Was she involved in it? If you are the driver of a getaway car and you know the person's got a gun who robs a bank and they shoot someone and kill them, you're just as guilty as murder if that person is as well. So this is a really complex one. Why did this public servant not agree with the policies of multi-factor access to databases, which the Service New South Wales swear they have? Sounds like Casey Pine. Multi-factor everything.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So it's failed there in New South Wales. It's absolutely incredible. She's gone into database as a public servant. It's the number one reason public servants get sacked in Australia. Okay, so she's committed misconduct and she's committed some fraud too there, I'm sure. Okay, so Service New South Wales is where she worked. Here she is being arrested, cool as ice. Most people would be carrying on, trying to fight back. She's gone along. She's done the very smoothly, really smoothly. It's very hard to pick what went on there. And these are the guys, the wannabe gangsters who coerced her into accessing that. You do not do this as an employee of the government. You do not do this as a police officer gets sacked. He's won 38 offences in Queensland. This one sent to prison for illegally accessing the database. This private investigator, John Robertson, got his sister and brother-in-law sacked from the police, and he was charged with 21 counts of computer hacking because they accessed the police database and gave him addresses of people that were subjects of surveillance he was doing. And 2 years his licence was suspended for his private, and then he got it back. Now, the private investigation industry, they don't like someone doing a dodgy to get competitive advantage over all the honest private investigators out there. And this is an issue with accessing a database and private investigators. It was done with some cleaners and private investigators back in the early 2000s in Queensland. So you never, ever even consider doing it, asking a mate in the police or a relative. You do not do that. They've found that access to police databases is a contributor to coercive control and domestic violence in Queensland. So it's just compounding. Don't ever do it. Don't get involved in it. Now, people become educated in relation to getting away with this sort of thing, particularly ladies are really good at it. And because of privacy considerations and absolute stupidity and non-sharing of information, if this doesn't knock your socks off as a taxpayer, nothing will.
We have seen, unfortunately, a number of situations where information has not been able to be shared, and one of which the classic situation has been where you have an employee within your organisation, they commit a fraud. In many situations, the matter does not reach a final investigation because when the person gets wind they're being investigated, they resign. And for many agencies, that's the end of the problem. Unfortunately, we've seen the situation where they then appear in another, in our case, Commonwealth agency, and they get a job there. Unfortunately, sometimes due to privacy, the first agency has not been able to pass on information to the second agency, which means the person who's jumped ship to the new agency is able to get the exact same fraud at the new agency. And when they've been detected again, they've just resigned and jumped to another agency. So unfortunately, we have seen situations where that has occurred. There's even been situations where a person has resigned and then rejoined the same agency and gone ahead to commit the same fraud.
That is incredible. Resigned after committing fraud at a Commonwealth government department, rejoined it and committed the same fraud. Our young lady from Surfers New South Wales is cool as a cucumber. It really makes me wonder. State and Commonwealth governments, you've got to tighten up on your information sharing and help us out. Casey, let's go with what you had.
Just to be clear, as investigators, as a desktop investigator, there are legal ways for you to do this where you're not leaning on illegal ways, such as asking a friend in the police. Like, to me, it's just the man that asked his brother or sister-in-law to access information. It's lazy. There are ways which you would know about if you did your course at the Australian Security Academy. That's all kind of laid out. And if you work with a reputable agency, they have databases that they pay to have access to, which they use their license. And yeah, so there's no need for any of this. So as an investigator, in saying that, here are my 6 identity tips for Identity Management Day on April 11. So I signed up as a champion because if you've been watching this for a while, you know I'm a bit of like an investigation nerd and a tech nerd when it comes to this stuff. So in my spare time, I like identity and access management. And this is really important because it affects all of us. If you live in Australia and you haven't been living under a rock, you know that a lot of our big companies have been breached now. Data has been stolen in the past few months and the past few years, and these hackers are just getting more and more of our information, and they're selling them this information, these lists, to the highest bidder. So to help protect your identity online, and your identity online is something that you leverage to say, hey, I'm me. Now, can I have access to my banking details, my Facebook, applying for a credit card, using Afterpay, accessing Instagram, LinkedIn, new sites that you have to pay for. You leverage your identity online to show who you are and get access to services. You need to protect your identity, because if someone gets a hold of it and starts doing nefarious things with it, then it's really difficult to untangle yourself from this mess, because it's not just one hacking group that uses the information. It's being sold to many, and it might keep cropping up. So this is why we really need to protect our identity and have an identity management system. So my 6 tips are, the first one is a password manager. I go on about this all the time. A password manager not only helps you generate really strong passwords so that you're not using your first dog's name and your favorite number at the end of it and just like a slight variation of a different capital letter and an exclamation mark at the end. Don't do that. Get yourself a password manager that generates strong passphrases, and then you use that. A password manager not only helps you generate passwords, but it saves them for you. And my recommended there is Bitwarden. So they have a browser extension where you can put it in whatever browser you use. So I use Firefox. I just put the extension in Firefox and sign in whenever I log onto my computer, and it can automatically pre-fill things for you. So super easy. It's an open source project, so people are always checking on the code, and it's end-to-end encrypted. So if hackers do try and hack Bitwarden and are successful, then they're just going to get a bunch of encrypted data, which means absolutely nothing. So you have to just use it. It's so easy. It's a little bit of a learning curve. You will get there. Mike, looking at you. So get Bitwarden. It's one of the best things that you can do for protecting your identity online. The second one is two-factor authentication. Make sure you have this enabled on everything you possibly can, whether it's your banking, your email, all of your social media, your LinkedIn. You don't want people getting in there to use your stuff because you don't know what they're going to do. The scammers these days are very smart. They have very complex schemes going on, and we all kind of sit here going, well, what could they possibly do to my Facebook account? Trust me, it's definitely worth avoiding it because you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know who they're going to try and scam or scheme or what they're using your Facebook for after they've locked you out. So use two-factor authentication for everything. And it's not on the list, but it's really important, I think, for private investigators as well, is with your phone, make sure that you have, with your email, have it locked with facial recognition. So when you go to your email on your phone, make sure it requires Facebook recognition in order to get in there. Because we receive sensitive cases all the time to our email, and we do not just want any Tom, Dick or Harry if we leave our phone on a park bench or in a shopping center. You don't want anyone to have access to that. So locking things down as much as you can and having that second point of your login is really, really important. Number 3, get new government documentation if in the recent breaches. So a lot of people were in, I forgot.
Latitude.
Latitude, Latitude, and there was a big insurance company that was breached, so Medicare card numbers were revealed, license numbers were revealed in Latitude, passport numbers have been revealed in another one.
Phone company.
Yes, there's so many breaches lately. Most of our information is out there now, and if you get a notification like I did from Latitude saying that, hey, your license number is out there now. This is what we suggest, that they give you a link which suggests what different states should do. And if they say get a new license or get a new passport or get a new Medicare number, do it. Because if they can utilize these things, like you think of your 3 points of identification just to apply for a credit card. It's just so simple. These guys are getting this stuff. You need to... you are going to get that. So if you're being told to get new documents, please don't say she'll be right. She won't be right, because, as I said, untangling yourself from the mess once you have been hacked or once your identity has been stolen, it's really, really it's not pretty. So get new government documentation. Don't be lazy on that. Act on it as soon as possible. Firefox Focus and Lockdown privacy apps. These are to do with reducing your footprint online on your phone. So Firefox Focus is like a Firefox browser, but it doesn't store any cookies. It doesn't store your browser history. You can, you know, how we'll just be talking in general conversation and go, oh, I'm going to Google that. And there's just more information that we're giving over to like the big tech companies or any apps on your phone that listens into the other apps. We're just trying to reduce our footprint, trying to protect our identity, trying to stop companies that do mine this data from essentially making predictions about our behavior or swaying our behavior. So lockdown, not up to lockdown privacy. Yep. Firefox Focus. It's a simple app from the App Store or Google Play, and you can download that. Really easy to use. So as soon as you Google something and you look at it and go, oh, okay, it was that person from that movie, or this is the street, like this is what it looks like, the street address or whatever, it just disappears and there's no trace of what you looked up. It's fantastic. And Lockdown Privacy app is just a fantastic app. This one is paid though. I like it because, again, I am, no name. You're going to have to let us know who you are. For some reason, it does that. It doesn't always do it, but sometimes it does. So, hello.
I think you have to, on Facebook, you have to give yourself permission to make comments. So it's a StreamYard thing. So sorry about that.
We're protecting your identity. So Lockdown Privacy app, it stops other apps and things like that from tracking you on your phone. And I have it enabled generally on my phone. I won't go into it now, but it just shows how many times Facebook and Instagram and Google and all of my Google accounts and all my Words with Friends app tries to access the information on my phone, and it blocks it. So it's just like, hey, nope, just spots it away. Nope, you're not getting that information. And you get there's like a little counter, and you just see by the end of the day, you've got over 1,000. You're just like, wow, it stopped 1,000 trackers from trying to look at my information. So that has to do with reducing your digital footprint. The fifth one, get an encrypted email. You do not need a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo account. We're old enough now to be moving past that stuff. You don't need Fairy Unicorn _69 as your email address anymore. Keep it, because when you go to Cotton On and they say, hey, if you sign up for like a 10%, oh, hey, Maddie. So if they say sign up for a 10% discount, you can use your Gmail or your Hotmail or your Yahoo address. But with this one, I use Proton Mail. So it's just proton.me is the website that you can go to. It's free, or I think it's like $10 USD a year if there's a couple of extra features that you want to sign up to, which are just extra privacy features, which of course I do, but there's no reason for you to do it if you're not a privacy nut like me. And this is, again, end-to-end encrypted. So if they break into my email, it's nothing. There's nothing there. They can't see anything. They can't decrypt it. So they also have a really great VPN that is free. They're just a fantastic company that take privacy seriously. And rather than using Gmail and Hotmail and Yahoo and things like that, that harvest data and do advertise to you in your email feed, get rid of it. You don't need it. Just use it for junk. Because Proton Mail is quite new, no doubt you'll be able to get your name. And just a little OSINT tip here, don't put your date of birth in there or your middle name. So like mine's CaseyPine@protonmail.com. I don't put CaseyLeePine@protonmail.com, or I don't have my date of birth in there, because it's just more information that you're giving away. I love it when I get a case and I've got someone's email there and it's John Richards Smith 1962@hotmail.com. I'm like, thank you. You've just given me all the information I need to find you. Like, you just handed it to me on a silver platter. So just get creative, but just get creative with dots. Do your first initial dot, your last name, if your name is taken. So if your name is John Smith, it's probably taken, but get creative. Leave out your middle name, leave out your date of birth because you don't want to be giving away those extra points of information on you. And clean up your apps on your phone. A lot of apps, especially apps that our kids download when they're little, like all the different little games that they put on there, some of them, like the developers get bored and they sell it to companies that just will start to harvest your data. They go, okay, well, this app is on this many phones. We're going to buy it off you for this price. And now we're going to just basically use it to harvest data. And this happens all the time. So get rid of apps off of your phone that you do not use or that you do not need, because you don't need to be giving any more information to data harvesters than you need to. And they are my 6 tips for identity management. Following these will really help you lock down your identity, reduce your digital footprint, stop people like me from finding you easily online, and reduce your other people's ability to steal your identity. So I hope that is helpful.
I bet everyone didn't know it was Identity Management Day during this week. Everybody was so focused on getting over Easter and looking forward to Anzac Day, they might have missed Identity Management Day. And that would have been a tragedy, wouldn't it, Case?
It would be.
It would have been, my word. So people, this big news this week, I've just got to do a quick switch here. If you're in New South Wales, you're a licensed private investigator, SLED wants you to send them before the 1st of July 2023 a copy of your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services. Now, they want that. You've got to send it to them if you're a licensed private investigator in New South Wales. It's not me saying this. It's SLED saying it. So what I would do if I was you, I'd get your Australian Security Academy qualification and I'd scan it. There it is. It's got your name on it. You can see that. Your name's on there. Okay. Okay. And send it in to SLED because they want it. Now, if you don't do it, you risk losing your licence in New South Wales. Then you're going to have to apply for it again. So SLED have told you they've got a link on their Facebook page. Just get on Facebook, type in Security Licensing and Enforcement Directorate, New South Wales, and get on the information sheet. And on the information sheet, they're going to tell you that they want you to send in, right, your copy of your certification that you got at the time that you were licensed. Now, if you're an astute person, you've got the Australian Security Academy Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, scan it and send it to SLED. If you don't, lose your licence and have to apply for it again. It's the 14th of March, 2023. You have until...
April.
Sorry, 14th of April 2023. I've told you that today. You have until the 1st of July 2023, according to SLED, to do that. Send it in. That's what they want. I was told on the first day as a private investigator, if the client wants it written in Egyptian hieroglyphics on toilet paper, that's how you do it. If the regulator wants it written in mirror writing in Egyptian hieroglyphics on toilet paper upside down, do it and comply. Now, if you don't like that, you should be a member of an industry association. And you should contact your industry association and say, look, I have to go and scan my documents and send them to SLED and it's going to cost $2.80. And my time's very valuable. I charge $3 an hour, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh dear, oh dear. If you don't have one, it's game over. So you can write to your industry association and say, I'm not doing that. I've got my license. There it is. Why am I doing that? They want you to do it. They want to know that you are qualified. Now, if you can't show that you had a qualification at the time your license was issued back in 2003, you're going to have to get qualified like they had to in 2007. Right now, they're not saying you have to have a specific qualification, but if you do not send in that scanned copy to SLED, you risk losing your license. You don't mess with licensing authorities. You do not go against the wishes of licensing authorities. Hi, how you going? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. You don't go against the wishes of that, okay? So make a copy of it, send it into SLED. They said it on Facebook today. Don't say you weren't told. It's the 14th of April, 2023 at 2:40 in the afternoon, and you got told to send a copy of your qualification, your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services to SLED. So that's very important. You can download their document on it. If you don't do it, you're out of work because clients will not employ you if you're not licensed. These CPD programs are now available. Yeah, well, send them the copy of the qualification you got in 1999, Matt. Or if, like you are, Matt, a member of an industry association, get in touch with me and I'll show you a clever way to solve the issue you've got. So the CPD that's now available in our CPD program on our Friday uni, you can get Understanding the Dark Web with Casey's program, Fraud Engines, Introduction to Security Risk Analysis from 2 weeks ago, and the Client Service Level Agreement. They're both now, all four of those are now available on your CPD program for every Friday. Yep, yeah, get in touch with your industry association, that's me, and I'll tell you the solution, okay? So that's really important that you understand you've got to do that. You must do it. There's no way out of that. This came up as a question today. A person said that they're in our CPD points and they're getting a thing saying they've got a statement of CPD. That's what I issue. I issue statements of CPD, right? This is what they look like. They're not certificates. They're not nationally recognised qualifications. They are continuous professional development points. There is no claim whatsoever from me that you have done an AQF certificate in that CPD. They're two different things. CPD is ongoing professional development to remain current in the industry and keep up with trends and to show that you're serious about your industry. You didn't just get a qualification 15 years ago and forget about it, okay? So they are not nationally recognised qualifications and I will not issue them as certificates of completion of CPD. I can if you will share the jail cell with me as a result of it, but it's not going to happen because I'm an RTO. We issue certificates under the AQF, not continuous professional development. Continuous professional development is a positive and good thing, right? It's free for all Australian Security Academy graduates. Take advantage of it. Get a copy of your licence into SLED. Never, ever, whatever happens out there, never access a database as a private investigator or a government investigator. Do not do it, okay? Stay right away from that. Don't get involved with that sort of thing. The young lady that accessed that database for Services New South Wales was charged with take, detain in company with intent to ransom, occasional actual bodily harm, unauthorised function with intent, serious offence, access, modify restricted data, held in a computer and participate in a criminal group and criminal activity. They responded to what she did with armed police and stun grenades. A person's life was at risk. And they pulled out teeth with hammers and pliers and stuff like that. New South Wales Police respond in kind to these things. Every New South Wales police officer could tell you horror stories about kidnapping among groups of people in New South Wales from professionals. And you'll never hear about it in the press and you'll never hear about it any other way. They know how it works. This was an amateur hour, terrible, badly done, opportunistic thing used in cooperation with someone with access to a database. You have been watching episode 205 of Spy Curious Investigation Weekly News. I think we've covered everything, Casey.
I believe so.
I didn't get into the jobs because I got too wound up about SLED. So get onto this jobs page and have a look at our jobs. Just ask to join that page, and you'll see weekly jobs as they come up for private investigators, corporate investigators, and government investigators. Make sure you send your license into SLED, people. We'll go out in our usual way.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's how every private investigation and government investigation agency in Australia ends their week. Mission complete. All units return to base. Great Korean movie for the first 3 quarters of it. If you ever get a chance to watch it, some really good private investigator tips. Then it gets a little bit monotonous after that. Thank you, Facebook user, for tuning in. Really good to see you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. That was a marathon 46 minutes with a 12-minute contribution by Casey about double-factor authentication, which is really important in government, and they're all going to be doing it now. And Freddie said thanks too. Good on you, Freddie. Great to hear from you, mate. I hope you're well. So we'll see you next week with more from Spy Curious. Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.